Imagine this. Your daughter comes to you asking for help to write a letter to her sports idol. This is a perfect opportunity to spend a heartfelt moment with your daughter. You could spend the time looking for the best words, bonding over her dreams. It'll be a teachable moment, a core memory, if you will. But instead of all of that, your response is, "Child, just ask a chatbot." Yeah, the level of out-of-touch, tone-deaf, anti-human narcissism at big tech has reached new heights of depressing. 1984 was wrong. The Brave New World was wrong. This is peak boring dystopia. How removed from reality do you have to be when you decide to run this ad for the Olympics, the one event that celebrates human achievement? Human achievement. And think about what this ad is trying to convince you of, that AI is better at expressing feelings and pouring out your childhood dreams than the children and their parents. It's not just asking the AI for help, it's the AI doing the whole thing for you, so that you don't have to be bothered with boring, time-consuming tasks of being a good father. You can automate that shit now so that you can focus on what's really important, the shareholder value. This is Evil Corp. We have all these different brands and their different logos and different names, but they're all the same company. They're all doing the same thing, setting and following the same trends on and on, squeezing every penny out of each of them into sterile, homogenized, neatly packaged products. I know they are the same because I know why they are the same, and I'm gonna tell you why they are the same. It's my one corporation theory, and I also have a solution that I disclose at the end of this video. But first, I need to show you how much anti-human the corporate tech has become, and how uniform in their anti-humanity they all are. How it's not just a one-off event, but a pattern that has taken life on its own, and it turns every piece of culture into the most bland, fast food version of the original with no taste, no texture, and no soul. By the way, I need your support to help me keep making these extensive analysis videos. Join my Patreon please for the tons of podcast episodes that are already there, some exclusive but many are free. Thank you. So Google made a terrible ad about Gemini. So what? Why am I even making a video on this? Google's Gemini ad is not just bad. It is profoundly off-putting. It pissed off so many people that Google had to turn off comments to save face instead of, I don't know, admitting their elite executives are role-playing traitors of humanity. Even Gemini is somehow self-aware enough to see what the corporate elites at Google couldn't. The cute kid trope, you say, huh? Have I seen that somewhere else before? This ad is not an anomaly. It's part of a broader trend. And no, that trend has little to do with the AI hype and the obvious tech bubble we are in right now. This trend has been developing underground for a few years and is now starting to rear its ugly head. What am I talking about? Well, let me show you. Remember the latest iPad Pro ad? The one where they thought it was a great idea to put every iconic piece of modern culture under a hydraulic press, heartlessly crush everything into smithereens, only to show the iPad victoriously taking the place of all that came before. A pretty terrible coconut tree analogy, if you ask me.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
This, of course, landed so badly with the creative community, Apple actually, in a rare instance, admitted their mistake and pulled the ad. And the ad is not even that off. I get what they were trying to say, that before you needed multiple different gadgets to do what you now can do on a single device that fits into your pocket. It's a trope that's only about like 20 years old by now. So that was Apple's this year's entry into the competition for the world's most terrible ad. There's also Microsoft's.
Watch me.
Who needs friends for a group study when you can do it all with a chatbot? Yes, watch me change the world by becoming a prompt engineer, because now you can LARP into any profession without learning anything about it. If only MLK had Copilot, am I right? Because the thing we need more of in today's society is to spend less time collaborating and just, you know, being with other humans, and spend even more time alone, isolated in front of our computers, gathering our data, predicting and monetizing every minute of our lives for the benefit of the lucky few shareholders demanding infinite growth at all costs. There is something that these ads have in common. What's the one thing that binds all of them together? What's the trend that ties all these companies into a giant, disgusting corporate centipede? They are all fundamentally anti-human. These ads are selling us products that are erasing human-to-human interactions from our lives. It starts at the workplace, being sold to you as a productivity measure, but slides just the same way into our spare time and family lives. Apple Intelligence is the perfect culmination of the world the big tech has envisioned for us. You will no longer need to read messages from your coworkers or friends. You will have AI summarize their text for you. You won't need to respond either. You'll have smart reply generating responses on your behalf. None of your friends will read those anyway. They'll use an AI on their phones to summarize your texts and respond with an AI-generated reply. A supervised bot-to-bot communication. And you should be happy for it. Oh, how perfectly this fits with the augmented/virtual reality. Apple Vision Pro will have you permanently locked in a virtual workplace because now you can be in a company meeting while serving dinner to your kids. You will love Metaverse. First, your boss will make you, then you won't even see your friends without the goggles on. Mark Zuckerberg thinks one of the use cases for open source AI will be the ability for famous people to create AI bots of themselves that their fans could talk to.
Single one of them can easily train like an AI version of themselves that they can make it what they want. So it's almost like a kind of artistic artifact that they're putting out there for their community that allows their community to interact with them, but also gives them control over how that interaction happens.
You think this will never catch on, but it will, because people are lonely and isolated. We've never been this alone, and this is bad for us. Loneliness is a global crisis everywhere from United States to China. Instead of solving that problem by, I don't know, giving people more time and space to socialize, the big tech gives them AI girlfriends and boyfriends to roleplay with, which is a dangerous loophole that distorts people's perception of real relationships and adds even more hours of the day they spend not with other humans. But the big tech thinks it's amazing that people are more open with a chatbot that spies on them than with another human being. I mean, think of all the shitload of value this will generate. It's no coincidence that this is happening at all of these different corporations. A few years ago, they didn't have that much in common. Amazon started with selling books. Now they are an AI company. Facebook started off as a social network. Now they are an AI company. Apple started with selling computers. Now they are an AI company. Microsoft started off by selling an operating system. Now they are an AI company. Nvidia started off selling shovels to the gaming industry. Now they're selling shovels to the AI industry. Everything is converging into this one vision. Everything is becoming one corporation. It's my hypothesis that claims that all major corporations are driving markets into one super conglomerate under common ownership that will eventually consume industry after industry until it's all just one mega corporate entity. My one corporation theory assumes that markets will become so anti-competitive that consolidation will be the only way to find a way to grow. With fewer and larger companies, there will be less economic diversity, and most markets will be owned by the same people. That will be the point of ultimate homogeneity. The peak blandness and soullessness everywhere you go. I'm stretching a lot of solid economic research here, but much of what I'm predicting is already happening. Hear me out, please. First, markets have never been this anti-competitive. Economic researchers use the 4-firm concentration ratio that says that if you have 4 companies controlling 40% of the market, it's consolidated. You'd be surprised how many markets meet this criteria. In fact, it'd be harder to find markets that are not consolidated. This is the worst with the big tech. In big tech, you usually have as little as 2 or sometimes just 1 option. Take mobile operating systems. You only have Android from Google and iOS from Apple. Desktop OS, it's just Microsoft Windows, and macOS just barely exists. And what is this Linux thing? Looking for a CPU is just Intel and AMD. A GPU is just Nvidia or Nvidia and AMD. And I could go on and on. With such high levels of market control, most of these major companies have nowhere else to go. They are publicly traded, so they're required to bring more money to their shareholders. And at peak saturation, their only option is to look outward. That's why telecom companies are merging with media companies, why an online retailer becomes a cloud service provider. That's why all of the big tech giants became ad companies. Even Apple has stepped up its advertising division. And then, the most important point of all, these companies are publicly traded. created. Somebody has to own them. And as these companies grow and expand and consume market after market, they eventually end up being owned by the same people. In economics, this is called horizontal shareholding or common ownership, and it's already massively prevalent. It will be even more prevalent the more of this consolidation continues and the fewer corporations there are as a result. There is a reason why this matters. Economists notice that when companies share the same owners, they compete less and converge more, because their shareholders are not looking for a free market bloodbath to see who wins. They just want to increase the value of their investment portfolio that spans across the whole economy. This starts manifesting with minority shareholders and becomes more profound the larger their share. Managerial boards at these companies are voted in by their shareholders, and if the same shareholders vote for the same kind of managers in all of these companies they own, you have the one corporation theory, and it doesn't require any conspiracy behind the back doors. The managers will authentically align with the interests of shareholders that voted them in. I encourage you to check all the sources in the description of this video. Whatever the remaining differences between the big tech corporations are, they are waning quickly, and this is not gonna stop until we do something about it. So what can we do about it? First and foremost, touch grass and touch your friend. I mean that literally. Bring back the time when you could just knock on your friend's door and hang out without any big tech intermediary in between. Stop using all of these attention-seeking, addictively designed social media apps to manage your relationships. They are not healthy for you. Switch to something like Signal that does not have a business model in monetizing your attention. As a rule of thumb, go small. Look for a small business or a non-profit project that offers an alternative. You'll find a lot of good answers in the open source world. Most things that I use daily are open source. My phone is Graphene OS, my email is Proton and Tuda, my AIs are small open source models I run locally. Most of my favorite apps for podcasts, YouTube, or messaging are small open source projects. Don't feed the corporate centipede with your mental energy, data, and money. They don't deserve it. I'm not selling you a product. I want you to take the path to realize your agency. I do this because I truly believe in this. I may be wrong, but I believe in this. I could have made a lot more money if I closed this off with a sponsor segment, but I elected to ask you to join my Patreon instead. I'm doing a podcast there, which is becoming more and more serious with each new episode. There is tons of content, so I recommend that you join. Thank you for your support.